Cool. Hi, everyone. I call this meeting to order at 7:03 p.m. We can go ahead and start with the approval of the agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Could I strike ASRS, please?
Striking ASRS,
Could we strike Bruin Advocacy Grant?
striking Bruin Advocacy Grant.
Can you strike?
I'm just. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, can you strike ARC?
Striking ARC,
Can we strike SFS?
striking SFS,
Can we strike capital contingency?
striking capital contingency. I'm going to strike commuter parking services as well as USAC seat at the table and Angel Aguilar to CS mini fund.
Oh, hi. Would you be able to add BOD allocations?
Sure.
Thanks.
Can you strike SWC programming fund, please? Yes, give me a second. SWC programming fund. Are there any other amendments to the agenda? Jonathan, did you ask me to strike SFS or did I imagine that?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other amendments to the agenda? If not, can I get a motion?
I motion to approve this week's agenda.
I second.
Breeze motions, Noe seconds. I will be voting yes. EVP,
Yes.
Gen Rep 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
Gen Rep 3,
Yes.
AAC,
Yes.
CEC.
Yeah.
Was that Alice?
Yeah, that was me. Sorry.
Okay, cool. Thank you. CSC,
Yes.
CAC,
Yes.
FAC,
Yes.
FSC,
Yes.
SWC. Yeah. TSR,
Yes.
ISR. Is Walker here? I don't think I see him. Cool, with a vote of 13 to 0 to 0, the motion passes and the agenda is approved for today. All right, moving on is approval of the minutes. I hope everyone got a chance to read over the minutes. And if you did, can I get a motion?
I can motion again, I guess. I motion to approve the minutes for October 13th.
I second.
Breeze motions, Justin seconds. I will be voting yes. EVP,
Yes.
Gen Rep 1,
Yes.
Gen Rep 2,
Yes.
Gen Rep 3,
Yes.
AAC,
Yes.
CEC,
Yes.
CSC,
Yes.
CAC,
Yes.
CAC, FAC,
Yes.
FSC,
Yes.
SWC. Yeah. TSR.
Yes.
And is ISR here? No. Okay, great. So with the vote of 13 to 0 to 0, the motion passes and the minutes from October 13th are approved. Great. We are moving ahead to public comment. Just as a reminder, public comment is a chance for the public to speak to council. Every public commenter gets 2 minutes to speak once. I wanted to remind you all to challenge ideas on individuals. Please use gender inclusive and respectful language. Freedom of speech does not mean freedom from accountability, thanks to CAC. And as a reminder, every speaker is given 2 minutes. With that, we are going to start public comment. Please go ahead and use the raise hand function and we will call on you. I see Alfred. Fernando, do you want me to go ahead and promote him? Or should we just use the,
Yeah, perfect. Hi, Council. I hope you all are doing great. I just wanted to provide everyone with an update on the USAC engagement plans that from the special presentation that Mia and Bakor gave last week. As of now, I've connected with almost all of the marketing directors of USAC offices except 2 commissions at this point. For the commissioners who have not yet connected me with their marketing directors, I really hope that you can do this during this meeting or after this meeting, so that I can finally be connected with everyone and I can send out the logistics of the engagement plan. I'm almost finished with the plan and I hope to send it over as soon as I'm connected with everyone. But yeah, that's just all the updates that I wanted to give, and thanks for listening.
thank you, Alfred. Would anyone else like to give public comment? Cool. If not, then we can go ahead and end public comment at 7:11 p.m. Great. Moving on to funding, we have contingency. David?
Hi, everyone. So this week we had a total of 8 applications. The total amount requested was $6,446.53. And then the total amount recommended is $2,022.90. These are to 7 non-USAC entities and then 1 USAC entity.
Can you drop the number in the chat?
Yes, 1 second.
I motion to approve the allocation of $2,022.90 to 7 non-USAC entities and 1 USAC entity. Is that right?
Do we have to
Yeah,
do 2
that's right.
separate votes or are we good for both? Dr. Geller or Josh?
Yeah, Emily, only if there's a disagreement, but if everyone
Okay,
agree on both the non-USAC and the USAC, you could do 1 singular vote.
sounds good. Thanks. I will be voting yes. EVP?
Yes.
Gen Rep 1?
Yes.
Gen Rep 2?
Yes.
Gen Rep 3?
Yes.
AAC?
Yes.
CEC?
Yes.
CSC?
Yes.
CAC?
Yes.
SAC?
Yes.
FSC?
Yes.
SWC? Yes. TSR?
Should I abstain since it's my office that is requesting funds?
Yeah, I think so. Oh. Oh my gosh, sorry. Can we run through that again? Can somebody motion?
Oh, I motion to approve allocation of $2,022.90 to USAC and non-USAC entities.
Then we can take that. I second.
Promise motions, Justin seconds. I'll be voting yes. EVP,
Yes.
Gen Rep 1,
Yes.
Gen Rep 2,
Yes.
Gen Rep 3,
Yes.
AEC,
Yes.
CEC,
Yes.
CSC,
Yes. Yes.
CAC,
Yes.
FAC,
Yes.
FSC,
Yes.
SWC,
Yes.
TSR.
Abstain?
By a vote of 12 to 0 to 1, the motion passes and $2,022.90 are allocated to non-USAC and one USAC entity. Cool. Moving on, we have the AAC travel mini grant allocation. Bree?
Yeah, so this week 350 was allocated to ALKI, which is a student org on campus focused on chemical engineering. I forgot the exact abbreviation for all of that, but they have a virtual student conference November 13 to 16. I don't know how much information I'm supposed to give. Like, this is my first time doing this, but yeah, I just know that 350 was allocated to that.
Cool. Is there any opposition? Hold on, let me admit Naomi. Seeing as there is no opposition, I don't know the rest of that. Seeing as there's no opposition, the funding is approved. Cool. Moving on, TGIF.
Hello. So this week, TGIF received 25 applications, totaling to over $150,000 of funding. So TGIF has not made decisions on funding so that we can spend enough time as a committee to adequately review all of the applications. So if anyone is listening in and wondering about their status, it will come in a week or two late so that we can make sure we're allocating correctly.
Naomi, you want to take over?
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that report, Sachi. Moving on to BOD. Kayla?
Right. Hi, everyone. So we had a total of 6 organizations apply for the BOD Programming Fund this fall quarter, and a total of 9 events, all of which are being done remotely. We held our hearings on October 15th, which was last Thursday of week 2, where we thankfully had 5 budget review committee members attend, so we were able to reach quorum. And just so that all of you guys can be aware, because we had such a small amount of applications this fall, we were able to allocate a little bit more than what would usually be given under normal circumstances. So BOD usually funds about 30 to 35% of requested allocations, but this time we had a little bit more room to allocate around 45 to 50% of organization requests. But not only that, we also understand how important it is for some organizations to receive assistance and funding right now, as a lot of them are trying to make the best experiences possible for first years and transfers and any new members, and also to keep the communities and their clubs really strong. So a lot of student leaders really let us know that during the hearings. Anyways, that being said, the total amount we are allocating and requesting approval for is $40,270.80. I will put it in the chat. Oh shoot, sorry, promise. Let me do that again. Yeah, And just so any of you would want to know, the average allocation was $4,474.53 with a standard deviation of $3,362.64.
Yeah. So sorry. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. BOD, Dr. Geller, or admin is just like a report, right? We don't have to approve anything.
If you're doing BOD funding, you need to take a vote on it.
Okay.
It's an action vote.
Okay. Emily, can you put that on the agenda? All right.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
Is there like a further breakdown of like what is being funded or like what was being funded?
What do you mean, like a list of, like an itemized list of all the stuff that we're funding for the different organizations, or like what clubs, or?
I guess both. I'm not sure. Are we allowed to ask that, Dr. Geller?
Well, in order to see that itemized list, you would have to have, I think, like access to the BOD applications through My UCLA. And so people on committee who attend hearings are able to see that. But in terms of the list of organizations and also like what their scores were at the hearings, I have that information. If you want to know what kinds of clubs applied to BOD, a lot of them were like engineering clubs who are trying to encourage their members to do projects from home, things like that. I don't know if that answers your question.
Typically, the scores and all of that would not be necessarily shared, but what council needs to vote on is the list of organizations and the amount of money that you're giving to each specific organization.
Oh, I see. Okay, so who would I need to send that to?
Emily.
Okay.
Or, I mean, preferably just all of council so they can all see it.
Okay.
You can use the USA Council email that sends it to all of us.
USA, can someone please put it in the chat?
Yeah. I'm grabbing it right now, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I didn't know that.
No worries.
Okay, just to confirm, it's being dropped in the chat, right?
Yes, sorry, I'm having Wi-Fi issues, but I just dropped it.
Okay.
Okay. I will be sending that in soon, so you have to give me a little bit of time. I'm sorry.
No worries. If you don't mind, Kayla, we can move on to our next presentation and then come back to you.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Cool. Okay. Moving on to, so actually, Sachi, or no, we'll start with Slack. Are the presenters for the Slack presentation here?
Yes, we're here.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'll just turn it over to you then.
Great. Thanks. Thanks for having us. It's good to see you. And thank you to Emily and to Jessica for helping to coordinate this. So we're going to spend a few minutes introducing everybody to Slack. I'm going to share my screen. Oh, may I share my screen?
Yes.
All right, cool. All right, can you see it okay?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. So, so we just want to spend a few minutes telling you a little bit about Slack and how to get started. And then you all sent me some questions in advance that that we wanted to try to touch on to address. So hang on, and then we'll kind of get into it. So a quick introduction. We'll kind of go over Slack for UCLA, how to get started, managing workspaces and channels, and then some Q&A afterwards. So first of all, who we are. My name is Lisa Kemp-Jones. I'm the Director for Customer Engagement for IT Services. With me today is Brendan Bellina. He's our lead technical architect working on Slack. Val Trollinger, who's our communications and content person, or supervisor, I should say, also a person. And Eugene Acosta, who's the manager of our IT support center. So, oh, and a late add is Michael Miller. He's part of our customer experience and learning team. So he put together a lot of the trainings that we made available for people using Slack. So a couple of things we wanted to review today is, you know, why we're providing this and why to use it. Some how to get started, how to manage your information within Slack, within the channels and workspaces. And I'd like to hear about your goals. So before we kind of launch into what we had prepared so far, are there any particular goals that we can address for you today? Any particular questions that we want to make sure that that you leave this meeting with?
Do any council members have any questions or goals? I know for us, I think the main objective is just kind of hearing what this new service is and how we can utilize it as student government and connect with students and, you know, give our resources that we have to students through this platform. So I don't know if anyone else has any goals though, or questions.
I have a quick question. Yeah, I would just like to know in general, like how you all plan to kind of roll it out to students and make sure that students are aware of it.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Really quickly, I was reminded of something that was brought up in another conversation. But we also kind of wanted to know what is the plan or what are you all thinking about when thinking about like this platform being used as a mode of, you know, free speech and, you know, what happens when it gets dicey. I don't know how else to put it. What happens when it gets problematic? But yeah.
Yeah, these are all great questions, and hopefully we can hit on some, and then you know, we might want to follow up later if there's additional questions. So so to get started, you know, why Slack? You know, with everybody you know, working and learning and teaching remotely, campus wanted to provide some tools to not only, you know, sort of facilitate individual kind of group activities, but also something that would potentially tie together various conversations and be a common platform for students, faculty, and staff, everybody at UCLA to kind of be in the same place and be able to message each other and collaborate. So so the choice was made to bring in Slack because it offers that campus-wide ability in what they call a grid, a kind of an enterprise grid. So it's special for UCLA. It's separate from the rest of the Slack world. So so it is our very own Slack. And it is, you know, if anybody, yeah, if we were in an actual room, I'd ask for a show of hands. But I think a number of people are familiar with it. A bunch of people maybe not. But it's a real-time communication messaging application. There's it also, you know, because like I say, you know, it's for everybody at UCLA. So there's opportunity to have collaborative groups across departments, across clubs, with you and your faculty, with you and your peers. So there's a lot of opportunity to set things up just based on what people need. And it's also, we learned in the process of choosing this product that there's also already a lot of Slack use. So there's a lot of student groups that are using it. It's used informally by a lot of people. We had a lot of departments that were using Slack. either the free version or they had paid for a version of their own. So there was already some level of use, and people liked the platform and found it to be useful. So we're building on that. So it's there. We'll get into this in a second, but there's a couple of different ways to use it. There's kind of public spaces, public-ish spaces where you can set up a channel based on any interest you might have. Your faculty member may set up a channel for a class and make that private, so it's just for people in the class. Or an organization like this, student government, you can have a channel and make it private only to members of this group as well. So there's also some nifty integrations that happen in Slack. So if you use Google Drive or Box, Zoom, which we're all using every day, and there's a lot of integrations within Slack to bring those applications into this platform. So for example, within Slack, there's a little shortcut to just launch a Zoom meeting from within Slack, which is super handy. So if you're chatting with somebody over text and you realize that maybe this is better to be had, a conversation like face to face, you click a button and you can talk to that person face to face. So there's a lot of real potential for bringing in other applications, which is one of the reasons why we chose this platform. And like I say, everybody can use it. It is our own UCLA Enterprise Grid. So only people with UCLA logon IDs can use it. So that's part of how this environment is safer than just using a public space or a kind of a free app or a free download. So and you use your UCLA logon to log in, so you don't need to create a different account just for Slack. So so here's some links. I'll certainly send this out to Emily and to Jessica later on, so you guys can have this. We provide a lot of resources through the it.ucla.edu website. As a matter of fact, if you Google Slack and UCLA, it'll come up with our websites. So so essentially, you log in at ucla.slack.com. Join the UCLA community space, and you're all set. You can kind of poke around, see what channels are available. This is designed for open collaboration, so you'll see a lot of channels that are available for anybody to join and participate in. And let's see, what else can I tell you? We've put together a lot of training resources. There's some training videos you can watch. There's some text or knowledge-based articles you can follow, and tips and tricks that are posted in Slack. So there's a lot of help available within Slack itself, which is kind of nice. There's the Slack help channel, and there's a lot of resources available there. All of our IT support, well, not all, but a lot of our IT support staff are keeping an eye on the Slack help channels to answer questions as they come up. So let me dive in real quick, and actually, Brendan, if you're available, you probably can talk through this with a little more technical detail than I can.
Sure. So in the UCLA community workspace that Lisa mentioned, the intention of that space is that since all of the community that's allowed to use Slack, which is essentially everyone with a UCLA logon except for clinical faculty and staff, that space is open to anyone to create channels around their own interests. There's nothing preventing anyone from creating a channel, adding people to it. There's naming recommendations, but it's really up to you to create the channel that you want. It can be public or it can be private. And if you create it public and then decide that you would like it to be private, you can request that to be done. If you create it private, it's private. You can't reverse, you can't make something that's private public, but you can go the other way though. So in this case, you would go into the UCLA community space, ucla.slack.com, and you can browse the channels that already exist. If you're familiar at all with Slack, you can click on the plus sign next to channels. It gives you an option to browse all of the channels that are there. That's going to be a very, very long list of channels because the whole community can create these channels. So there will be thousands of channels. I don't know what the exact number is right now, but eventually there will be thousands of channels for sure. So, you can browse, but you can also just search. Use the search bar. You can type in whatever you want. It will search channels, any public channels. It will show you what those are, and you can decide whether to join them or not. You will not see private channels. Those are only visible to the people who are actually in them. So once you decide whether you want your channel, maybe there isn't a channel similar to what you're looking for, so you decide to create the channel yourself. You decide whether it should be public or private, and then you go ahead and just create the channel. You will automatically be in the channel yourself. If it's a public channel, you can leave the channel and join it back up again. But if it's a private channel, you can't leave. There has to be somebody in the private channel at all times to invite other people into the private channel. So there has to always be one. Oh, well, I think that's probably good. So the only other thing I can think of to mention is that if you decide that you named your channel badly, or you typoed when you were typing in the name, you can rename the channel. The person who creates the channel can rename the channel. Nobody else can, but the person who names it can rename it. Any questions?
Awesome. Thanks, Brendan, for filling in those gaps. There's a couple of notes about roles in Slack. Brendan was just alluding to the person who creates a channel has some particular responsibilities and privileges there. But there's also various other roles, not too many, but the owner of the space has responsibility for kind of managing the membership and the usage and the just some of the overall structure of the space. There's for most of us, we're going to be members in these spaces and channels, and then for guests that can come in, they're going to be largely restricted to the one channel that they have been invited to. And so far we've talked about channels, but the other structure in Slack are workspaces. This is these are for if a faculty member has a class and they want to set up a number of channels for their students, some private, some open discussion channels. This is something that they can request and use it for a course. Departments can set up a workspace for their team to work in. There is a little bit of overhead as far as administration for a workspace. So setting up a workspace requires somebody to be in a position where they're the workspace administrator. So they're handling requests and things of that nature. So it's not a giant amount of work, but it is some level of responsibility. So as this group kind of thinks about how they might want to use Slack or how it could benefit you guys, a workspace is an option if that is going to work for you. We would just work with you on who would be that workspace administrator and how to make sure that role is sustained over time. So that's certainly an option for you. Or you don't need the overhead if you don't want it, and you can set up channels in the UCLA space. Does that help? Is that you have questions about workspaces versus channels? Awesome. Okay. So now I wanted to turn to some of the questions that came up. I think I touched on a couple of ideas as far as how student government can use a tool like this. Did you have any other kinds of use cases you want to think through, ideas you might have that we can help answer questions about?
Does anyone have any questions?
And I've got the chat window open if anybody wants to type in a question if it comes to you.
Go ahead, Ethan.
You said my name? Sorry.
Yeah,
cut
go
off.
ahead, go
Okay.
ahead.
Hi. Thank you for coming out and presenting.
Let's leave it at 15.
I think I wanted to ask.
For like
Actually,
reflection.
are you hearing my roommate also?
Yeah.
I think. Okay. I think I'm. No, it's cool, dude. I just realized I should switch. Headphones. give me 1 second. Sachi can go first.
Cool. Yeah, I just had a question to follow up on the workspaces. So, any student, like, or anyone can kind of make their own workspace in this grid, but does that mean that it's like open to anyone on campus if you make a workspace?
Let me clarify, because this is hard, and we're still new at Slack too, so we struggle with the terminology as well. A channel is different than a workspace. A channel you can set up, and that's what Brendan was talking about. So if you set up a channel, you choose whether it's available to everybody or just private to the people that you invite. So as you set up a channel, you get to decide that. Workspaces have a little more structure to them, where you request, like if USAC wanted to request a workspace, you would make that request through a request process we have in Slack. And then we'd work with you about how to get that set up, what it should be called, how to kind of manage your membership and set up channels and take requests and things like that. So within each workspace are a bunch of channels. So that's, you have both options, I would say. So if you want to have a whole workspace with a bunch of channels set up just for USAC, that is possible. Or if you want to just get started with having a few channels in the UCLA community space, you can start there as well. Did that help?
Yeah, I think I understand because I'm looking at it now. So you have to request to join, like and not if you make a workspace, it's not like the public can just automatically join. They have to specifically request and be approved.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. I have another question, but I'll let Justin go first because I think he's ready.
Yeah, I am ready. Yeah. Thank you for coming out, y'all from IT services. I think I wanted to ask kind of for the general rollout for students, because I'll make it clear, like I do think this can be very helpful for like the general student body. That being said, I think there needs to be, I was wondering what efforts y'all were planning for specifically two things. One,
Yeah, that's MailChimp.
I guess FAQs and things like that, similar to what you did just now for us. And two, kind of how to encourage people to use it. It's not like auto enroll or anything like that. And I'm realizing like, well, just my thought is that I use Slack a ton for different things, like in jobs and office stuff and other things. But I am thinking and curious like how, because most, at least for me, most classes use things like GroupMe and kind of like less like what's the word, like involved like platforms. I do think there's a learning curve to Slack, and I'm wondering how y'all will kind of navigate that.
Yeah, great question. And we are really just literally getting started with Slack and rolling it out. We work with some people in student affairs who just put out some social media posts today promoting it. So So, you know, there was a little bit of timing involved. They wanted to make sure that we didn't inundate all of the students in the first couple of weeks of classes because there's so much going on. So, so we chose the third week of classes to really kind of start the communications. So this is a great start. Just today, they posted some social media. I think you'll see some emails potentially from the ABC, you know, kind of announcing it and next steps. And yeah, and that's actually, you know, I'd love to turn that question to you all too, to say, you know, what would be effective to help get the word out. Certainly through faculty in teaching and introduce students to Slack. Student organizations, student groups are going to be really important. But if you have ideas on what would be helpful for you all to put together, because you know what we've done so far is it's just kind of thrown a bunch of stuff into like a website and into Slack to say, okay, here's a bunch of help. You know, how do we get started? So your advice and feedback would be certainly welcome. All that we're getting started. So
Yeah, I just wanted to say, bouncing off of Justin's point, this presentation was really cool. And though I like use Slack for everything like Justin, I do know that there are some students who they're very resistant to Slack because it has so many features, even though all of the features are really useful. So I think some kind of like cool, like how to use Slack, like I don't know if someone was to model it through video or something, or I've seen really cool like how-to videos with, yeah, so I think that would be really useful.
Cool. I'm so glad you said that because I'm going to stop my share for a second because Michael Miller, who's on this call, just finished a little bunch of videos about how to use Slack. So
hello, everybody.
That's Michael Miller.
I just posted a link to our main how to use Slack webpage, which has several resources. If you go to that page and go to step 4, we added a handful of videos. I think there's about 6 videos there now. Over the next week or so, we'll be adding another 5 or 6 videos. They're specific, they're digestible, they're in like 3 to 5 minute chunks. And they cover a variety of topics. And if you keep in contact with us, as well as we'll probably be, you know, we're going to get a lot of questions over the next couple of weeks. So we can certainly, you know, if there's anything missing from this content, we will certainly add to it. But I think the majority of the stuff we've done so far covers a lot of the basics and should get people up and running. One of the cool things that we have is the second video, which is Get Up and Running with Slack, shows you how to sign in, how to join the IT services space, and then how to complete a little Slack challenge, fun little wizard challenge, become a certified Slack wizard, which teaches you a couple of tips and tricks about using Slack. So we have these resources and we're going to continue to add to them. So hopefully that addresses the sort of, we're going to get more information about Slack in terms of videos, KBs, knowledge articles, etc.
Awesome. And also I'll point out that there's a lot of resources within Slack. So as you join the UCLA community channel, there's a welcome channel. And I think there's a welcome bot that comes in to offer some links for resources. So Slack itself also provides a lot of just help within Slack, which is one of the nice features about it.
Yeah, we're trying to make it easily digestible and fun too. So that's something we try and do with the training stuff is make it fun to learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. So what else was I going to say? Oh, and there's also across the grid, there are Slack-help channels. So if you have a question, you run into trouble, there's Slack help. And like I say, we watch that one. Somebody earlier had asked about, with such kind of an open communication forum, what happens when there's misuse, when there's a problem. We're currently working with the Dean of Students Office and Student Affairs to outline how to respond to that kind of activity. So right now we have ways to report it. So within the workspaces, there's the Slack-request channel that is available from all workspaces, and within there, there's a I'm forgetting what to call it. Brendan, what do we call it?
Lightning bolt.
It's
The
a
lightning bolt.
it's a workflow. It's a shortcut workflow.
Thank you.
So it's in Slack request. It's also in Slack help, and it's also in Slack feedback. So there's 3 easy places essentially to go and report misuse.
Yeah, so we have a workflow within Slack to report misuse, and you can also report it through the usual channels. I think the Dean of Students has an email address, as well as the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion group. So and any of these things you can use to report misuse. And we'll work with those authorities to outline how those concerns would be addressed.
And one thing to add, Brendan, did you want to mention something about e-discovery in terms of deleted messages versus, what can happen if, subpoenas, etc.? I don't know. Do we want to even mention that? I'm figuring we should.
Michael, that's a little out of our depth, expertise wise.
If you want to, that'd be kind of cool to hear.
Well, yes, I guess what I'll say is that if you haven't already logged into ucla.slack.com, you will find out when you do that there is a notice there that was written by the Dean of Students expressing what kind of behavior is acceptable. This is considered to be a UCLA workspace essentially. So you're expected to be on your true Bruin behavior. And if you're not, the reality is that administrators do not have the ability to look at your direct messages or even what's in a private channel. No one can look at the content of a private channel except the people who are in that channel. So if you invited somebody in, they would be able to see it, but if you don't invite them, they cannot see it. However, for legal purposes, all the messages are retained for e-discovery. So in the event that there would be some kind of inappropriate activity going on and a subpoena was issued, it would be possible for messages to be retained and utilized. So as long as everybody's, behaving on true Bruin behavior, I don't think there would be any issues.
Thank you for that.
Awesome, thank you. And I'm did we cover your questions? Are there any other questions we can help out with?
You definitely covered mine. Do any other folks have any questions?
Yeah, I have one more question about privacy, which I think is a great transition from what you all were talking about. So, what level of privacy can students expect from the channels and workspaces that they create in terms of, I'm not necessarily worried at the moment about external, but maybe like what kind of privacy can we expect from someone at IT or someone from administration kind of looking into student activity on Slack?
Do you want me to answer that?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think Brendan touched on that a minute ago, but maybe, yeah, you can expand on that.
Right. So private channels are not viewable by anyone except people who are in those channels. So it's not possible for a workspace administrator, for example, to to push themselves into a private channel and view the contents of the private channel. It's like a vampire. You have to be invited in. If you're not invited in, you don't get in. Now it's not that hard to invite people, and anybody in a private channel can invite anybody into the private channel. It's not like the owner of the channel is the only person allowed to invite people in, or the creator of the channel. It's a collaboration tool. So it's not designed to prevent people from collaborating. It's designed to make it easy to collaborate. So that's something to be aware of. The direct messages are also private. There's no way that anybody can see those. There's no way for even the top grid administrator to look at any of that content. The only way that it would be accessible is if we were subpoenaed, and Slack has tools that would then allow us to be able to retrieve that information. But there's no way for us to do it with the capabilities that we have.
And I'll also add that when you're in Slack, you can look at the channel and see exactly who is there, and because it's based on our UCLA logon, people can't set up anonymous accounts and pretend to be somebody else. So it is sort of traceable to a UCLA logon holder.
Awesome. Well, I think that we are good on questions, but we just want to thank you so much for coming out, taking time to present to us, and teaching us what Slack is and does and how it can better serve our students. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and I'll follow up by sending this presentation so you have all the links.
Yes, that'd be awesome.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Okay. Awesome. I just wanted to note, y'all, we have switched to webinar, so that means that the only faces that are seen right now are Emily, myself, and Fernando's. Fernando's is not an elected representative, and while I definitely only want y'all to turn on your cameras if you're able to, if you are able to, I would really encourage you to turn on your cameras. It would make it more interactive. So thank y'all for that in advance. Okay, moving on to our regularly scheduled programming, we will go back to BOD. Kayla?
Yes, hi. Okay, and on the note that you said to turn on the camera, I'm going to turn on my camera. So I did send the allocation sheet on the email if you guys have received it.
Does anyone have any questions? Go ahead, Sachi.
Yeah. So, and I don't necessarily know if this is a question for you, Kayla, or just a general question, but at least 2, and I believe 3 of these organizations are dual applicants with TGIF. So, and we haven't done any allocations, so that's not an issue. I guess I'm wondering, maybe from admin representatives or Jessica, what we should do about that, because I know that maybe we can't necessarily have the itemized breakdown, but I wouldn't want to allocate money from 2 different committees for the same purpose.
Yeah, so that's something that as far as TGIF is concerned, I would recommend that for those groups that are duplicate, we just reach out to them and inquire as to what they applied to BOD for specifically. In general, I feel like most of the different funding bodies don't generally get duplicate requests because they fund very specific things about programs and events. So I wouldn't worry too much about it, but that's definitely something that on TGIF's end we can follow up and inquire more into.
Got it. Thank you.
Does anybody else have a question? Go ahead, Aiden.
Oh yeah, this isn't really like a question, but well, I guess it is a question. I don't know who it's directed to, whether Naomi or Kayla, but I'm really excited to see the really cool projects that this is funding, and related to innovation and the STEM and the sciences. And I know that's a criticism that our, council often gets. So I'm wondering if we could message this out more or obviously we're transparent. Obviously this is publicly accessible data, but is there a way we can better communicate the really cool stuff that we're funding?
Kayla, off the top of your head, do you have any ideas? I know you all started an Instagram, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, the Instagram was initially made to be kind of a resource for organizations to stay on top of when deadlines are. But I think if we were to we could also reach out to these organizations and see if they want to be publicized on our account. Our account is relatively small, so I don't really know how much help we will be. But if that sounds like something you guys would want us to do, then I'd be glad to do that.
I would also say too, our UCLA president account definitely has like a crowd going, and we can like help in like publicizing things. I would just we can talk afterwards on what that would look like, because I definitely don't want to like infringe on my director's toes. They have their own feed and I have to ask. So yeah, we can talk after about that, Kayla, if you want.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Any questions?
It's 8 o'clock.
Sorry. Any more questions? If not, a motion. I'll put the amount again here.
I motion to approve $40,270.80 from the BOD allocations.
I second.
Sachi motions, Noe seconds. Emily? IVP?
Yes.
Yes.
Gen Rep 1?
Yes.
Gen Rep 2?
Yes.
Gen Rep 3?
Yes.
AAC?
Yes.
CEC? CEC?
Yeah, sorry.
CAC?
Okay, so I have a question. I'm not sure how I want to vote here because, like, although the projects sound really great, everything, I just wish there was like more information about what was being funded and like what these projects are. So I don't know. I think I'm gonna abstain from this one.
Okay. CSC?
Yes.
SAC?
Yes.
FSC?
Yes.
SWC?
Yes.
TSR?
Yes.
ISR? Actually, don't think I saw Barker on the line. Okay. Okay. By a vote of 12-0-1, the motion passes and the BOD allocations are approved. Thank you, Kayla. And I guess the last thing I would say, when we do start to like work on how we can present this to the student body, maybe through that promise, we can like go into specifics about like what was funded or like how are they using the money. And I think that might help. What do you think, Promise?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, for sure. Awesome. Moving on to our next item, which is TGIF. I'll pass it back to Sachi. And I have to get my food. So Emily, can you take over?
Yeah, for sure. Sachi, go ahead.
I will actually pass it to Jessica to pass to your students and to Joy.
Okay. Jessica, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I apologize. I'm eating my dinner, so I'm slightly chewing right now. So yeah, I just appreciate the time to let TGIF do a quick presentation. We had a redesign of our website and a new logo that we just launched. So we wanted to invite two students from my office, Maya, who is one of our student government services staff, and then Rohit, I don't know if he's on, I didn't see him, but
Yeah,
oh yeah, there he is. So he's our USAC webmaster. So the two of them together sort of, comprehensively went through the redesign process and built the website. And then I believe Joy is also on from FAC, and she was the one who lended her amazing talents for the new logo. So with that, I will turn it over to the three of them to show you all the awesome new TGIF site.
all right. Hello, everyone. So I will be presenting, so me, Maya, and Maya will be presenting on the redesign of the TGIF site. So I will share my screen. Okay, so can you guys see my screen right now? So this is the old TGIF website. It just as a refresher, and this is how it used to look. And everything on this site is still accessible in case some stuff has not been moved over yet. But here is let me not full screen. Yeah, and here is the redesigned website, the homepage of it. So as you can see, it looks quite a bit different. We've made tons of changes, both content-wise and aesthetics-wise. So some of the main goals we had from the old website, improvements to the old website were, well, firstly, like general aesthetics. So we wanted to make it look more modern and cleaner and more appealing. And we think we've made a pretty good looking product. And the other thing is better organization. So we have this hierarchical organization here, which makes it really easy to access all the information, as well as it's easy. The website is easy to access both from the point of view of somebody who wants to learn about TGIF, like information and previously funded projects, and also somebody who wants to apply can be walked through the process really intuitively, right from the homepage to the point where they can apply. And thirdly, the other main goal was accessibility, which compared to the previous website, this website is completely keyboard navigable and can be used by a screen reader, which has been tested. And then also interesting fact, both this website and the USAC website now have automatic accessibility testing. So every time a change is made, it can test to see that it's accessible by screen readers. So yeah, this is what the front page looks like. And then this design was created by Maya Steele. I implemented the design into the webpage that you see here. By the way, I don't think I introduced myself at the beginning. I'm Rohit, and I'm the webmaster for USAC. And now I'll give it to Maya to present some of the pages within the website and the workflow. So Maya, are you ready to share your screen?
Yes, thank you so much. I'm Maya, as he said, and also hi, Naomi. It's nice to see you too. I'm going to share my screen, kind of go through the website and talk about the design as well. Can everyone see? Awesome. So it's still a work in progress, but it's definitely, as you can see, very much more improved than the prior website. The front page, you can click apply now and automatically go through the funding process. And it's very comprehensive, and it just asks you questions and kind of guides you through it, especially since we do have 3 different funds, and it can be kind of confusing if you're going into it for the first time. We also have a deadline calendar, and we also have all of the 3 funding applications embedded right on our website. So you don't have to click any other links and can just fill it out right here. About us, we talk about our mission, have a cute graphic, and show how we strive for inclusivity, especially sustainability, and the mission that we do have. We have our program history, and we also have the team, which is a work in progress. We're still updating things right now. Also, as someone who is really involved in finance, the rec process is very confusing. So I wanted to make sure to lay out all the steps and give additional documentation if needed, which is, as you can see here, the grant agreement, the rec form, and then how you actually use your funds. Lastly, we talk about funding projects. So we have a nice overview of just like our 3 different funds, and these will be updated, but we're hoping to lay out all of our mini fund grants, main fund grants, and then capital infrastructure projects right on the website so that you can look at our history and groups that we funded. We also have TGIF virtual office hours, and I know from last year, a lot of people would just email us directly, but we wanted to make it more accessible and they can easily sign up through Calendly. So I'm gonna pass it to Joy to talk about the logo and what she designed.
Hi, yeah, sorry, my camera is being really weird, so unfortunately I can't be with you in close to person. So this is the final logo that I designed for TGIF. Oh, by the way, I am the chief of design for the Facilities Commission, and so that's how I was involved with the TGIF project. But yeah, so this is the final logo. It went through a couple of iterations, but we have arrived at this one because of its contrast and a more simple professional design. And it looks more modern with the flat colors and the minimal symbols and things like that. It's, in my opinion, an improvement from the old one. But yeah, so my thought about this logo was that the Green Initiative Fund supports a lot of sustainability initiatives. However, when people think about sustainability, mostly the image that comes to mind is like the recycling symbol or a like seedling sprout type of image, when sustainability is so much more than that. So that's why I chose to incorporate a sun, a water droplet, and leaves, because of course leaves represent growth, and we are trying, that's the end goal, to create a better planet. But I also wanted to incorporate a sun and water because solar power and alternative power is really important to sustainable efforts. And also a water crisis is obviously going on in California, and that's also a lesser talked about part of sustainability. And I wanted people to be more aware of the numerous ways that they can get involved with sustainability that TGI supports. So yeah, lucky to be a part of this project.
Thank you, Joy. And to add on to that, the logo that you designed, so if I can start sharing screen again, there we have a demo version of the website where I can show you how it would look on the website. So you guys can see my screen again, right? So this is, right, this is what I just showed you. It uses the logo from, that was the same as the old logo, but on the new site. And then here is what the logo you just presented would look like. This is not the real TGIF website, but once we make some tweaks, we can put it there. So side-by-side comparison, old one and new one. So yeah, so that's all we had to present about the website redesign. Are there any, do you guys have any questions?
No questions from me, but I just wanted to say everything looks really great and I'm super excited. Thank you so much for doing all of this.
I also wanted to say too, thank you so much for presenting this. Rahi, I would love to get in contact with you like separately to kind of talk about the USAC website. We have some people in our office who have been thinking about like ways that we can improve it. So I would love to like get in contact with you after.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I also maintain the USAC website, and my email address is usac.webmaster@asucla.ucla.edu. So I'll just put that in the chat.
Awesome.
So
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you can email me for if you want to change something on USAC or TGIF, or any of the USAC sites.
Yay, thank you. Go ahead, Emily. I'll hand it back over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. If there are no other questions, we can go ahead and move on to appointments. Sachi, you have the first two. Go ahead and take it away, Wally.
Can we actually table the first appointment? And then I can just move on.
Sure.
Okay, cool. So the appointment that I'll be making today is Emily Helfand to the John Wooden Board of Governors. Emily is a fourth-year transfer anthropology major. She has been really involved within Safe Parking UCLA and also really interested in space allocation regarding wooden and recreation facilities. So I'm very confident that she will be an active appointment on the John Wooden Board of Governors.
Great. Is there any opposition? Cool. Since I'm seeing no opposition, Emily Helfand is appointed to the John Wooden Board of Governors. Congratulations, Emily. Awesome. Naomi, I think you actually have the next one. I don't know if Lalo or, oh, Lalo's here. Hi, Lalo.
Yes, hello. I am here. Let me turn on my camera. Oh, wait. Okay. All right. So we have Alejandro Salas to the Student Risk Education Committee, or SREC. So Alejandro is in the Office of the President. He is one of the co-chairs for the Future Student Leaders of Color Conference. And he's really excited to keeping involved in like access work and supporting projects that do access work within the greater like UCLA community. He's been a really great office member and seemed really excited to be appointed to SREC when talked about the position. So yeah, that's him.
Awesome. Thanks, Lalo. Is there any opposition? Seeing none, Alejandro Salas is appointed to SREC. Congrats, Alejandro. Cool. Our next appointment is Palmer Turnbull to Elections Board, Director of External Relations. Alfred's here. Do you want to go ahead and introduce him? Alfred?
Hi. Sorry, is it my turn?
Yes.
I'm so sorry. I am here. So yeah, like hello everyone. I'm very happy to introduce Palmer to all of you. Palmer has strongly demonstrated in his application, his interview, and interactions after the acceptance of his position that he has a strong and passionate commitment towards interacting with student groups, student affair entities, and external actors to raise awareness about USAC elections with a very keen eye for equity, diversity, and inclusion. He has served in multiple leadership positions, from working with the Voting Rights Project to conduct outreach, from being the president of SLAM, the largest student music organization education program in UCLA, and being on various leadership positions in Greek-like organizations. I think Palmer has a wealth of outreach experience to interact with many people, and he is connected with communities where USAC elections has historically shown lower levels of engagement. I'm very happy to have him as my director candidate, and I have absolute confidence in him that he will do justice to his position, and I think he's very qualified.
Thank you so much, Alfred. Palmer, do you want to go ahead and give your 1-minute opening statement?
Yes, I'd love to. Yeah, so as you guys might have learned, I'm Palmer, and I'm gonna be working on the external board for directors, and it's gonna be definitely a challenge this year with the online format. I think it's gonna be probably one of the lower turnouts, but I'm going to do everything I can in my power to make sure that we can either negate that effect or even reverse it. Because I honestly think there are pros and cons. Like, just like we won't be doing as many in-person events, we'll have more budget from those events to throw into advertising. And last year, as a lot of you probably know, a lot of the information from, or like regarding the elections, was broadcast on social media. I know you saw like celebrity appearances. If you look through the social media page of the elections board, the ones that have the most likes, the most comments are all the celebrity appearances, right? People love those. And now we're gonna have even more budget to throw into those. So hopefully that will boost the turnout. Specifically, diversity is super important to me. As Alfred mentioned, I'm on the UCLA Voting Rights Project. So that's just really focusing on communities where their vote might be stifled, diluted, right? And so because like I'm willing to devote my personal time to that, that's something I'm passionate about. That's something that affects me directly as a person of color. And I think that bringing that mentality into the school elections, helping broadcast that to all different races, all different creeds and colors of our school, I think is really important. And it's really important to make sure that students who are coming from areas, high school, where they might not have been as represented, might not have had their voice in government, can now look at the election board and say, hey, that's someone who looks like me, that's someone who represents my ideas. And that's really something important to me. Just kind of following along with that, I don't know if it's been a minute yet, but just wrapping up, I'm really just invested in community service. It's something that's really important to me, just making sure people who are like a little more disadvantaged than myself get the same opportunities. That's really what the slam is all about, right? Reaching out to music organizations and schools that don't have music programs and volunteering lessons. I have a lot of experience reaching out to different organizations around the community and within the school to organize events. I think that experience is going to come in really, really clutch on this elections board as we reach out and expand our audience in the online format. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Palmer. Council, so we'll start with questions. Raise your hands if y'all have any. Go ahead, Zuleika.
Hi, Palmer. Thank you for joining us tonight. My question to you is, how will you plan to reach out to the transfer community? As many times before and historically, transfers haven't really had the opportunity to run for office. Not that it's not accessible, it's just that they're a lot of the times they're not aware that these positions are also available to them. So how are you planning to reach out to the transfer community?
Yep, great question. As a junior myself, I actually have a lot of friends from my old high school that are transfers and are currently even coming to UCLA. So I have a lot of personal connections with transfer students, especially through my fraternity. I've met a lot of older guys who are transfers, and I've actually come to know like how they function, a lot of how they feel about UCLA. And you're definitely right. A lot of it is like events, things going on. They come in at the same level as freshmen in terms of like how they're engaged with the school. So I think it's really important to reach out to transfers, reach out to freshmen and let them know that this is how we do things here. This is our elections and we take this very seriously. We make sure everyone has a voice and this is really important to us. I think if we can reach out and make sure that those people coming in new to the school see this as our culture, then that's just going to continue to boost elections in the coming years, right? Because they're going to go into next year saying, okay, last year elections were super important. It's part of this culture. We're going to keep doing it. And I think specifically reaching out to transfers, something that we just did as an election board, when I was sitting in on a couple of the interviews, right? And we actually are looking at a candidate who is a transfer for the election board. So I'm sure she's going to bring in some ideas and I'm very open to all ideas. And so I think having an input directly from transfer students sitting on the election board will be extremely helpful in my decision making as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Christina, I thought you had your hand up.
No, I lowered it, sorry.
Oh, okay. I know I have a question. What is your outreach strategy to communities that don't often feel that they have a space here in council? And when I talk about like marginalized communities, I'm referring to like Latinx students, Pacific Islander, Black, the list goes on.
Yeah, definitely. I think something that's super important is going to be a close connection with mother organizations. I think that they have a strong base of students who are connected in those groups, like you said. And I think that it's going to be really important to just make sure, like I mentioned in my opening statement, that those communities feel like they have someone representing them and that their voice matters, right? And so I think it is important to give special attention to those mother organizations and make sure I have a working relationship with them, as well as like other groups. I know like STEM students in particular are very low in the election turnout. And as a political science and stats double major, I'm also gonna be able to reach into those groups. But yeah, definitely, like you said, these racial groups, these groups that might not have had as many opportunities to express their voice in high school or coming into college even. It's really important to make sure that they know that the election board cares about them and values their vote on an equal level as everyone else. Yeah, definitely.
I had one more question before I give it to Zuleika. Last year, the Daily Bruin particularly wasn't, or not even the Daily Bruin actually. I think it was just outside entities that weren't as pleased that students in that election board was using student fees to like get celebrities onto the page, even though it drew like a lot of attention. What would you say to those critiques? Yeah.
Right. I think we could just show them the numbers, and the numbers are just going to show that this is what people like. This is what's more effective. And I think the fact that we realize that that's the most effective strategy and we put our money towards that instead of expanding in other areas is just a winning argument. Because if you think that like, oh, let's do it in all these different things that might be a little bit less expensive, but we have way more of them, it's going to add up to the same cost, maybe even more. So I think now that we can all recognize that that's the most effective way to do it, I think a lot of students would actually appreciate that their funding is being looked at in a more like strategic manner. At the same time, it is like, it does seem a little bit flashy. I think definitely in my first interpretation of it, I was a little bit like, wow, is this really what our priorities are? But I think our priorities really are students expressing their voice. And so I think that once they realize that it's for a good cause, and anyone who wants to like claim that we don't care about students or that we're just doing this for some like weird personal manner, I think that they can really look into it and see that like, this is what works and this is what has been working. And so why would we stop that? And why would we not want to focus more on that?
Thank you. Aiden and then Sachi.
Yeah, thanks so much. I guess my question is turnout and the historical trends we've seen in turnout for elections. Last year, I was grateful that even with the transition to online, we had a spike, an increase in turnout to about 30% of the student body voting, but that's still far off from kind of the national average and far off from, I guess, all of our aspirations for all 100% of Bruins having their voice heard. So external relations is a key part of, I guess, mobilizing and building the relationships to turn out students to vote. So I guess, what is your plan for, or the ideas that you have for external relations in your capacity to boost turnout even more than we did this year?
Yeah, awesome. I'd love to go into that. Specifically, I think I also mentioned this in my opening statement, it would be pulling money away from these things, these in-person events that we were having last year, and now we can divert that money directly into advertising. I think social media is going to be a really big platform this year in terms of making sure everyone is getting their voices heard and making sure everyone knows about the election, knows about the candidates. I think also it's very important to focus on voter education rather than specifically saying, oh, go vote. It should be go vote because this, right? It should be say, go vote because this candidate represents you. Go vote because this candidate wants this for your specific group. And I think if we can get students more excited about specific candidates, they're going to be more excited about voting. I think it's going to come down to making sure that we find good candidates. Our outreach for selecting candidates is on point, right? We need to be sure that there's people that are going to get the people going, get the people rallied, and want like to use their voice. Because I think a lot of the reasons why people aren't voting isn't necessarily because we don't have enough social media campaigns. It's because people don't care about any of the people running. And so I think it's going to be really important to make sure we have informed people running, and we have people running who are going to be looking and actually care about the students. And so I think that's going to be a big focus of mine, is just specifically putting my resources towards finding great candidates who I know the students will appreciate. And then along with that, I think it's going to be very important that we still have these events, even though we aren't going to be face-to-face, because people do still want to meet the candidates, even though they can't actually be with them. And so I think the Meet the Candidate event specifically for me, and the debates are going to be very important. And just getting people to those events, it's probably going to be done through social media, but also, like I said, these candidates need to be people that they want to meet. And then I think just in terms of the election code with the social media policy this year, I think I want to really work on adapting that a little bit to be a little more flexible in terms of like, I know you guys had a lot of restrictions, you all ran, so you all know how it went last year, and you had a lot of restrictions with regards to like hashtags, things like that. I think we really need to just be a little more lax on that, especially this year when that's going to be the primary mode of spreading the message.
Perfect, thank you.
Awesome. I think you're speaking people's language when you talked about the hashtags. Go ahead, Sachi.
Yeah, I had to clap for that one because bad portion of my life doing those hashtags. But yeah, I actually kind of had the same question as Aiden, but I did just want to kind of clarify. I think from what I'm hearing, you're talking a lot about advertising, you're talking a lot about like outreach to specific groups. But I guess like because it will be fully online and like, yeah, you might want to have like the best candidates running, but given the set of candidates you have, regardless of how exciting they are, what strategies are you going to get to ensure that information about these candidates is dispelled to the entire student body, or even just information about like what USAC is and why that matters to people?
Yeah, definitely. I mentioned this in my ARC interview, and it was just definitely like wanting to ramp up our specific page for the elections board. I want to make sure that we have some face-to-face contact with, or like virtual face-to-face contact with the people who are seeing our posts. Because when you look through it, it's really not a lot of faces and a lot of just full paragraphs of information. So I think we need people really explaining this information. We need someone with some charisma saying, hey, this is what's important. This is what the election board does. This is why this is important to you. And I think that's going to be really important for people to hear, especially on social media with how diluted it is with just all these great infographics flying at you left and right, full of paragraphs that you get to swipe through. And I think it needs to be really someone speaking to the people and someone like letting them know why these things are important. At the same time, I think Zoom is going to be actually a great function for us to get turnout exposed, because we can just hop into these classrooms and say, oh, this is the election board and this is what we're about and this is what the dates are coming up for elections and why voting is important and these kind of events. That's going to be a really great way to advertise, even though we are in the pandemic, because normally we wouldn't have the kind of staff to just run into every classroom, but now it takes literally 2 clicks and I'm in every class at the school, right? So I think that's really going to be helpful this year. Another thing I thought about, which might be a little bit of like a budget concern, especially as I think Naomi expressed that it was a little bit of some criticism we got last year, but it would be doing a sort of live panel, live interview with some prominent figures, maybe UCLA alumni who we appreciate and we want to hear them speak. And so that could draw a large turnout. And then we could also have that in the same vein, have a message of like, okay, students, you guys need to go vote. And this is because I'm a big celebrity and I'm saying this to you, and right, and it's going to really have more of an effect on them than just maybe another student saying it, right?
Awesome. Sachi, I saw your hand go down. Cool. Emily?
Hi, Palmer. I'm curious as to how you differentiate your role in external relations from the director of marketing. So what is your understanding of your specific role?
Yeah. So the director of marketing this year, the candidate that we're really looking at is actually a close friend of mine. So I think it's really going to be a close relationship, especially this year with the big focus on social medias, right? So our marketing needs to be on point, our advertisements need to be on point. And so while she's going to be focusing more directly on like the creating graphics and working on our social media page, I think I would be more of a big picture influence in terms of like, this is what these people are kind of looking towards this year. Maybe you can make something a little more in this vein, or maybe this isn't working so well, this didn't work so well last year, maybe let's focus a little more in this direction. So it would be a close relationship, but I would definitely be less hands-on and more of an ideas and kind of getting her input and working with her a lot and making sure that her ideas and her experience are playing a big part, but at the same time that my external relations and me reaching out to communities and their voices are also working towards our marketing strategy.
Awesome. Does anybody else have any questions for Palmer? Going once, going twice. Okay. Go ahead, Palmer. Feel free to give us your 1 minute closing.
Yeah, so it was really great answering all your guys' questions. I'm sure you want to see someone who is willing to work with you and is willing to represent your interests as well as the entire school's interests, because you are representatives of the school. So I think it's really important to me that I get your approval, and I feel like I have support from you guys when I'm stepping into this role. At the same time, I want to have a nice relationship with all you guys and have a nice working relationship, something that where I can listen to your voices, maybe hear, because you all have been through this process. So I want to hear what worked for you guys last year as candidates, what you appreciated that the election board did, what you didn't like so much, and I want to adapt towards that. Because like I said, you guys are the school's favorite, right? You're the choice. And so I want to really mirror that in myself. And I want to be someone who's going to like look into what you guys are doing and say, okay, yes, this is really like, I support that because they're the student's choice. At the same time, just kind of moving through it. I'm really excited to use my connections I've made in my 3 years of this school. I think it's finally going to be nice to have an opportunity to reach out to these different organizations I've worked with so much. And so it's just going to be really nice. Definitely just kind of expanding that and using my relationships for something that's going to be a positive voice in the school. I am excited about this position. I hope you guys can tell, and I hope you guys are excited as well to have a fire election board.
Indeed, we are. You left us speechless. Yeah. Okay. Ark, do you want to give us your recommendation?
Yeah. So ARC voted 3-0 to give a positive recommendation for Palmer. We thought that his experience doing outreach for SLAM, as well as a couple of his other experiences, really prepared him for this position. And we were especially impressed by what he was talking about in terms of making sure that communities of color feel like their voices are valued, especially incoming students who may have come from communities where their voices have not been valued in the past. I especially really appreciated that part of your interview. One thing, if I can say, is that I do want to make sure that you understand that like transfers are different from freshmen. Like, like we shouldn't necessarily, equate them. And so maybe speaking with Zuleika or, other transfer student organizations on how you can target outreach to them.
Awesome. Does anybody else from ARC want to speak?
Yeah, so Palmer, I had the opportunity to listen in to the interview in the ARC. Unfortunately, I couldn't ask questions, but I was listening to the whole interview. And I was also impressed just with the amount of passion and the experience that you had. And I kind of want to reiterate what Emily said. Transfer students, we are a very, very diverse community. A lot of us have work experience. A lot of us have very like different backgrounds. Some of us have served in the military. Some of us have children. Some of us, are system impacted. So again, I would say definitely take that into consideration and reach out to us so that we can assist you on how to reach out to these communities that have often been left out of, the conversation.
Thank you, Zuleika. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that interviewing for ARC along with Emily and Zuleika, I was also quite impressed with your interview. And I think for me, it was very good to see how like dedicated you are to wanting to make things different this year and also like move with the momentum of having a high voter turnout and like continuing to increase that. And I also really appreciated during your interview asking us about different things that could be changed and what could be made better. So that was very nice. And just, yeah, echoing everything that Zuleika and Emily said. Transfer students deserve space and to deserve to be recognized. So that's just definitely something that we should keep in mind in doing all of this.
Thank you, Promise. Anyone else? I know I just wanted to say I'm really excited to see the work that you'll do. And I just wanted to highlight two things. I think one, we do have to think really creatively about how we engage people. And I think that we can turn to like previous examples on how people have been able to do that. I know the MO Coalition usually hosts a Rock the Vote. I don't think that they were able to do that this year, but in that sense, like partnering with organizations is really important. And then second, just an outreach plan. I think all of council would appreciate you maybe coming back. I don't know. I feel like beginning of winter might be too. I think beginning of winter would actually be good. You coming back with like an outreach plan with how you're gonna like reach out to different classrooms and testing out the waters. Thank you, Alfred, because that's really important. We think that it might be easier with Zoom, but there might be even more barriers. So we just want to make sure that we like foolproof whatever plan that we put out to the student body. Anyone else have? Go ahead, Sachi.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I really appreciate your energy. I think that that's important for this position. And I know that, like in your intro, you're saying that, you might expect lower turnout, but I'm really optimistic about what you all can do. Y'all are a great team. And I'm like keeping fingers crossed for like the highest turnout possible, 100%. I don't know, reach for the stars. So that's my only comment. But yeah, thank you so much for coming today.
Likewise, I want to like just hop on what Sachi said. I think that the council will only appoint you if you expect high turnout. I'm kidding, but no, seriously, like don't go in like expecting low turnout.
Yeah, most definitely. We're gonna keep it positive, you know, and it's gonna be a great year.
Of course, awesome. So if no one else has anything to say, a motion.
I motion to appoint Palmer Turnbull to Elections Board Director of External Relations.
I second.
Sachi motions, Emily seconds. IVP,
Yes.
EVP,
Yes.
Gen Rep 1,
Yes.
Gen Rep 2,
Yes.
Gen Rep 3,
Yes.
AAC,
Yes.
CEC,
Yes.
CAC,
Yes.
CSC,
Yes.
FAC,
Yes.
FSC,
Yes.
SWC,
Yes.
TSR,
Yes.
ISR. Oh, sorry. By a vote of 12 to 0, the motion passes and Palmer Turnbull is appointed to be the Director of External Relations for the Elections Board. Congratulations, Palmer.
Awesome. Thank you guys. I'm very excited.
Yay. Okay. Moving on to officer reports. I'm so sorry. I actually did not have mine pulled up right now. Okay. Moving on to things that we are working on within OP. I've had a very busy week and a busy end of the week last week, but last week I was able to record I guess kind of like our overarching plan for OP with Monroe, Vice Chancellor Gordon, and JP, the GSA president. We went over our shared goals, and that's going to be widely distributed to staff and potentially some faculty and even students. So we went over those goals. We also met with the Public Health Compliance and Protocols Working Group and kind of just went over different compliance issues and kind of going over the progress of the public health ambassadors. Our office is actually planning to meet with the public health ambassadors program, the directors of the program, just to make sure that we're giving feedback of what our team is seeing on the ground and making sure that the program is working efficiently. We also had a presidential election working group. This is separate from the working group that Aiden will probably give you all an update about. But this working group was just going over the different voting locations, making sure that they are going to be properly staffed. Of course, the city is, or the county is definitely running the elections, but UCLA is making sure that there's like additional student affairs staff that's going to be present. They're working very closely with the Bruins Vote Coalition to make sure that students are also going to be able to volunteer. And that's going really well. I've done my double checking with Aiden, Bruins Vote, making sure that like everything's good and everyone's happy. So we're excited about that. We had, I mean, this isn't necessarily something that's like really big, but we did have a meeting with our admin reps and GSA going over implementing the Zoom webinar. Our office is going to be releasing a graphic that all of USAC can post. So like all of our offices can post about like explaining why we're making the switch to the webinar and like how can students, how they can go about like authenticating themselves and still being able to enter. Right now, I'm pretty sure like Ashley, who was a member of the public, and Genesis were able to see that when you first joined, you would only see like the webinar feature and we're able to upgrade you. So we want to be able to upgrade students, but we want to give them guidance about like how we're going to go about upgrading them. But that was a big change that we decided to make, you know, to protect one another and to make sure that we can still have these meetings. And then on Monday, I met with the UC President Drake in my role as part of the Council of Presidents, and we went over a bunch of different topics. I think the most notable ones we're talking about, COVID-19. We discussed policing. And while we weren't as pleased with the meeting, we are definitely following up with subsequent meetings with UCOP staff and making sure that any questions that we have and any, I guess, initiatives that we want to work on are worked on with the UCOP staff. Yeah, and then, oh, I had a recovery and response task force meeting. At this meeting, we also presented the social pods proposal once again. The UCLA administration is really looking into the social pods idea, and so is LA County. Last week, we had given our social pod memo to Vice Chancellor Beck, and he provided it to the county, and the county might use it as a model when thinking about social pods. So yeah, those are kind of things that we're working on. We're hoping that if social pods are like recommended or implemented, we would do it in phases. We recognize that like just telling everybody to like go into pods right now isn't realistic in LA County land, but I don't know if y'all saw, but the regulations were just like modified this past week to allow people or families of 3 or households of, what is it? 3 households? Emily, I feel like you told me. No, you probably didn't. Okay. I think it's a household, no more than 3 households can meet. I would have to look at the exact language, but essentially people can now meet a little bit more freely, but still very controlled. So yeah, that's what we're working on. IVP?
Hello. Cool. Okay, so we met with the team of folks to discuss security via Zoom for USAC and GSA, and I actually got a lot of good information out of that. So I'm thinking of possibly having a workshop or a guide for Zoom security so that student orgs can access it and make sure that their meetings are safe, just like ours are. Cool. And then our student worker town hall has been moved to the 26th of October, and we will have someone from Student Legal Services there to answer questions, as well as Professor Jana from the UCLA Labor Center, who directs the Earners and Learners or Workers and Learners Project, which studies student workers in Los Angeles County, to give some of their research findings. So please RSVP if you can make it, because I think it'll be a great event. We met with UCLA Spark and the Dean of Students and ECRT for our rent grant project that my office is trying to undertake, and hopefully going to get that kicked off around November and December. My Revamp Advocacy Partnerships Committee has finished a handful of like presentations and resources for student orgs, like how to power map, UCLA admin overview, UCLA funding bodies overview, and different things like what's right for you with platforms like Trello and Slack for student orgs to use to organize themselves and connect with their members. We will also be sending out a club/org feedback form as a collaboration with Outreach, and my Campus Safety Alliance released our meeting minutes from the 10-9 meeting, and there will be another Campus Safety Alliance meeting tentatively planned for week 4, covering Title IX issues and election-related safety for students, which came out of our conversation with Aiden and the Bruins Vote committee, talking about planning for pre and post-election things. I think, oh, and then one last thing, ASUCLA face covering design contest has been launched. Every year it's, usually the t-shirt design contest, but this year we asked them if they were comfortable changing it to the face covering contest, and we did. And I think it'll be a great opportunity to, reinforce the idea, wear your face coverings, make sure you stay safe, but also give students a creative outlet. I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Yay, go ahead, Aiden.
Thanks. Yeah, so I linked the written report, so I'll go through it briefly, but kind of at the system-wide leadership level, really engaged with a lot of the different financial aid and election issues coming up. In November, we had our UC Student Association Board of Directors meeting this past weekend where we covered a lot of these issues, and then also participated in two major statewide convenings, the one done by the Institute of College Access and Success last week, which is focusing on our priorities related to state financial aid reform and expansion, and then the statewide Proposition 16 Education Town Hall on Friday evening, which gathered the system-wide presidents of all three segments, UC, CSU, and community colleges, and then the system-wide student regents of each segment. So it was really cool. It was the first time all of us were in the same Zoom room, and it was great to see us all behind this key priority of students. Also, looking forward, we're gearing up for our meeting with President Drake with all the EVPs of campus schools, and was really grateful. One of the amazing things about Naomi serving in her role and me serving in my role is we could just always ask each other how our different meetings at the system-wide level go. And I know we got a lot of good feedback from Naomi on how to craft and structure our meeting next week with President Drake to give some updates at council then. Our campus partnerships team has been really active with supporting the Bruins for Prop 16 Week of Action last week, which engaged hundreds of UCLA students and potential voters in support of this goal and priority that UCSA and UCLA USAC adopted unanimously. And we were grateful to get earned media coverage in the Los Angeles Times and Cal Matters as well. The campus partnerships team is also really engaged with staffing our USAC post-election response task force, which is looking at the 5 different areas that I highlighted last week: election day safety and security, protections for student protesting, academic flexibility and leniency, mental health and well-being, and campus communications and messaging, along with partner offices in USAC and partner units at the campus administrative level. Our university relations team is also gearing up for our November Regents advocacy and different system-wide advocacy relating to student workers, campus-based fees and affordability, and system-wide UC health insurance policy. So it's just research and data gathering and reaching out to our partners in USAC and other student organizations. And then local, state, and federal relations, to a certain extent, are gearing up and beginning or planning to begin their advocacy push, which will ramp up at the beginning of winter quarter when we pivot from being an election-focused office to being a lobbying-focused office once again. And then finally, we will have fellows now. Our fellowship has been selected of 20 really incredible UCLA students, first years, transfers, continuing students, non-traditional students. Really excited for this cohort of students. And I'm really excited to meet with them during our first meeting on Wednesday. But that's all. Oh, and then the final thing that I didn't highlight is just really ongoing efforts in supporting the Bruins Vote Coalition. We passed our major mark on Monday with the voter registration deadline in California closing. The initial data poll that we got is showing that UCLA is really leading, one of the top schools in the state in terms of registering students to vote. And now that we have all our students registered who did before the deadline, it's now our goal to really turn out and educate students in the next 2 weeks. So expect a lot of exciting and engaging content in text banking and phone banking about the different options that students who are eligible to vote have to vote in this election.
Awesome. Breeze?
Yeah. Okay. So first off, I guess I reached out to a few of your office, IVP, SWC, CAC, for the event that we're planning to have, kind of like for the healing space for the elections. If your office is interested, please reach out to me. Like, we're more than willing to expand. So we're really excited about that. We had our first decolonization of the mind event last night, and it went really well. We really liked like the therapist that came, and we're hoping that we can reach out to her and see if she would actually be willing to like do the healing space event that we have next. We also will be having another event tomorrow with first gen resources on campus, and it's going to be with the First to Go and AFGU program. So it's tomorrow at 6 p.m. And I actually didn't know about this because I know yesterday we were at the task force meeting, we brought up a mental health guide. So my sanctuary campus has like been working on a mental health guide already. And it's like, I was looking at it right now, 11 pages long. I don't know how they did that, but anyway, it would be like a great idea. So I'm trying to see if hopefully we can pass this along to admin and see if they can also spread it out as well as like maybe our individual offices. Again, continuing a lot of the conversations around elections for Senate. And we'll be releasing our guide letter later this week on like what Senate can and cannot do. Please spread it because it'll save like AAC and Academic Senate a lot of work because academic freedom is something not like it's very difficult to explain to people. So hopefully this will help out a lot. And yeah, we got our intern class and our books for Bruins is being processed. So just waiting on that so we can start sending out money. Thank you.
Breeze, on your academic Senate guide, sorry, I had a quick question. On your academic Senate guide, are you also going to include like that information or that notification that we talked about at the meeting where they said that like there's like encouragements or just words going out to faculty, but that it won't be released to
You
students?
think I should? I was gonna ask y'all, but I don't.
I think you should because I don't know if you remember during the meeting, I said that we should all do that collectively and share it as USAC. So maybe if you did it, or if your graphic designers were up for it, maybe creating a separate one and we can all post it.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Something like that.
Yeah, I'll include it in the guide regardless, and then I'll look into us also creating a graphic.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. And on to the next. We have our admin reps, Jessica.
I don't really have any updates, but I just wanted to kind of mention two things about the Slack presentation that I thought would be helpful for you all. So one benefit of being in the UCLA grid is that since it's a paid Slack account, you get more features than the free account, which also includes more message storage and data storage with that. And then I also wanted to mention that I know a lot of orgs and a lot of USAC offices have Slack accounts already set up. They can help you migrate your existing account onto the grid if that's something you're interested in. So happy to follow back up with Lisa and do some direct outreach if anybody needs it. But I just wanted to make a note to mention those two things just in case they're helpful for you all. But other than that, no updates from me.
Thank you, Jessica. I was actually wondering that if like we would be able to migrate it, but thank you. Dr. Geller, I don't know if she's still on. Oh, she is.
I'm still here. It's not midnight yet. So I don't really have anything to share. I do want to thank any of you who were able to sit in on the ABC for Civil Rights interview. Appreciate getting a student voice in there. So important that we get campus entities to invite students to participate in high-level position interviews. And I'll continue to forward opportunities and different programs as they come around. A few that are out right now for anyone who either on council or maybe listening that's interested. The LINK program, the Chancellor's Leadership Program, which includes a winter and spring 2-unit course followed by a paid summer internship, is accepting applications right now. So I encourage people to participate and submit an application. And also there is a film screening being facilitated by Healthy Campus. A new film, it's a documentary about the benefits of play. And so forwarded that information as well. Feel free to share both opportunities broadly with your networks. And with that, as it approaches midnight, I will say goodnight.
Good night, Dr. Geller. Thank you. And thank you for inviting us to the interviews. That's really important what you said.
Great.
Awesome. Josh?
Vote
Vote, vote, vote. I think that we are anticipating the 3 locations on campus, Hammer and Ackerman and Bradley, to be heavily impacted by both the community and students. So if you are local in Westwood, please make sure you vote early if you're planning to vote in person. And if you are not voting in person, get your mail-in ballots ready, friends.
Thank you, Josh. Fernando? Okay, good to know. Patty?
Hi, everyone. Look forward to being helping with the voting center in Ackerman. So lots of meetings in regards to that. We'll be open for 5 days. So starting, I believe, that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and we'll be extending our hours on that Tuesday from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. But agree, vote as early as you can. And we also have some fun programming tomorrow night. We're doing weekly Wednesday night programming at 8 o'clock, which has been really fun, having some fun interactive game nights for students to stay connected. But tomorrow we're also doing a pumpkin carving contest and a Halloween mask decorating contest. So we're sending off some winners with some AirPods and some gift cards to the store. So it should be super fun. So if you want to get crafty and join, it's all on our virtual activities website on our ASU CLA site. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Patty. And then I see Sachi.
It's 9 o'clock.
Sorry. I see Sachi's report on here. Do you want to give like brief updates? No? Okay.
Good.
Okay. Christina? No? Okay. Well, that's still good. Okay, moving on to the 2020-2021 Finance Committee guidelines. Go ahead, David.
Hi, everyone. So I was hoping we could bring these on screen. Can I share my screen?
Yeah, you should be able to.
Okay, perfect. Okay, can everybody see this? Okay, perfect. So I presented these in the summer. Oh no. But after some feedback and after seeing some of the applications, I thought that it was good to make some changes. So first of all, most of the things are the same. We are funding, a lot of the same stuff that we've been funding. In fact, we're trying to relax our guidelines so that we get more people to apply. Some things that I decided to include are these in red. So a lot of students, this is also in our application, but I figured it might just be important to have in our bylaws have in our guidelines as well, because it is in the bylaws and we can't fund things like charms, pens, trophies, etc. Also, a lot of student organizations have been shipping things. So I felt that it would be a good idea for us to fund some of, like they've been shipping goodie bags to their members. They've been shipping things that we can't fund, but I thought that it was appropriate for us to be able to fund at least $200 per event, per organization, to shipping costs specifically. A lot of these organizations, they help out their communities, and I think shipping costs are important to them. And after talking to the rest of the FICOM team, they agreed with me. And we came up with this number because this was, this has been just kind of the number that we've been seeing. And then in terms of e-supplies, I felt that that $275 per organization for a website would be a good amount. I looked at the Wix website subscriptions, and $275 covers a year of a premium plan. I feel like having the website is really important, especially now. So I want to, I want to encourage organizations to apply for this, to have this. Additionally, a lot of student organizations have been applying for online workshops. Sometimes these workshops have people coming in, sometimes they also have registration fees. So we also thought that $500 per event was a good number. And then lastly, incentives we've been seeing a lot of. So this is just like, these are the main changes that we've been making. And then I'm happy to discuss anything that you guys have questions on, or any of the numbers. Yes, Emily, I see your hand.
Yeah, really quick question. Regarding the website funding, I think that's a really great idea. My only question is that it's been a while since I've applied to contingency, but my thought process is that usually they have to apply with a program. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. So
how would they apply for this website subscription for like the year?
Right. So when contingency last year kind of merged with, I'm forgetting the fund's name right now, but there was a different fund, SUF, there we go. Yeah, so when contingency merged with SUF last year, we also had to do t-shirts, and t-shirts sometimes don't require a specific event because t-shirts are supposed to be for an organization and they can just apply for those outright. So we figured that we could use the same just sort of logic behind that to get them to apply for a website.
I don't know if you can see the chat, but Sachi asked, what is SUF?
Oh, yeah. So before, I don't know what the acronym stands for.
It stands it stands for student. Yeah, but Jessica put it in the chat. Student Organization Operational Fund. It was basically the fund that provided most of our offices that don't have. Oh no, I'm thinking of ESCOF. Go ahead, David. Take it away. Keep going.
Yeah, so to my knowledge, SUF was mostly, we wouldn't fund, SUF funded a lot of the things that we wouldn't fund. Jessica, please, if you have more information on it, please feel free to let me know. But I know that they funded t-shirts. They also funded some supplies that the finance committee did not fund. But now that we've just kind of merged with them, we kind of take care of it. So we fund t-shirts, we fund websites now, and things like that. It's made our funding more flexible.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll just say a few words on SUF, just as kind of like a refresher. So back when we passed the USAC budget, and you look at all the different line items that the budget contains, and then at the very end, there's this remainder of money after all the other line items are filled. So that remainder would make up SUF and ESCOF, which ESCOF is specific for USAC offices, but SUF is for student organizations. So just due to the fact that that remaining budget kept shrinking every year, at some point SUF just didn't have enough money to fund anything. Like it wasn't realistic as a fund because of how much labor and effort went into trying to allocate such a small amount of money for a bunch of student org needs. So because contingency as a fund was growing from scaling up, it was decided that it just made more sense for contingency to pick up the things that SUF was covering that other funds wouldn't, because contingency had more money available for student orgs and SUF was almost non-existent at that point, just so low. So that's why there was the bylaw change to just take SUF out as a category, or as a fund rather, just so that it wouldn't be something where you had to have a whole committee allocating such a small amount of funds that wasn't really helpful to student organizations. So that's kind of where we ended up with contingency picking up the t-shirt portion of it, and then also just being a little bit more accessible of a fund to make up for that lack of SUF.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica. I didn't know that. Yeah, Emily.
Yeah, my only other question is, are you going to do some kind of outreach to let orgs know about these new things that can be funded by contingency and how they can
Yes.
access it?
Yes. So recently, I don't know if you guys follow our Instagram page, but we've been making a lot of graphics. It's fairly limited right now, but recently I made a "What Does FICOM Do" graphic. Some graphics that are coming up are just sort of what we fund, what we don't fund, and the plan is to include these. Hopefully, we can have this done by the end of the week. And we've been getting some students who are asking about just what we fund, and I think this would be perfect for them just to sort of see on our Instagram page, on our Facebook. And also, I will send this to Fernando so that he can update the website on it.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for David? If not, I don't believe these. Wait, is this an action item?
I think it might be consent, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, we'll have, this should be an action item for voting to change guidelines.
Oh,
Okay.
it is. Okay.
Okay. Well, does anyone want to make a motion?
A motion to approve the 2020-2021 Finance Committee guidelines.
I second.
Emily motions, Sachi seconds. IVP?
Yeah.
EVP?
Yes.
Gen Rep 1?
Yes.
Gen Rep 2?
Yes.
Gen Rep 3?
Yeah.
AAC?
Yeah.
CEC? CAC?
Yes.
CSC?
Yes.
FAC?
Yes.
FSC?
Yes.
SWC?
Yeah.
TSR?
Yes.
Okay. By a vote of 13-0, the motion passes and the 2020-2021 FICOM guidelines are approved for this year. Thank you, David. Okay. Moving on to our last item of the night, a resolution calling for privacy protecting digital contact tracing. Go ahead, take it away, John.
As I understand it, I currently have only 2 sponsors. So right now, as I understand it, Dr. Geller said that it can't move forward.
Okay. Does anyone else want to sponsor? Or was that decided in the group chat? I'm sorry, I didn't read it earlier.
As I understand it, one suggestion I got was to make it a discussion item and bring it forward at the next meeting.
Okay. Do you want to, since it's already on the agenda, maybe just turn it into a discussion item since we're all here?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
What symbol do you add to mark it as discussion item?
Wait, sorry, what?
How do you mark it as discussion item?
Oh, I think Emily can change it, but just feel free to take over if you want to start leading the discussion, John. Or
Okay.
like pose your questions and I can call on people or anything.
So there's already been some discussion of the resolution, but I understand that people still want to think more about it and perhaps do a little more research. So right now I've split the resolution to 2 possible versions. One that calls for the people to adopt the contact tracing app that UCLA is going to recommend, the UC system-wide app that I believe was developed by UCSD and that uses the Google Apple API. And the other one calling on people to
try out Novid, even if it's not the app that UCLA winds up pushing for on the grounds that it might be superior for the reasons discussed in the presentation 2 weeks ago. And I'd like to hear, first of all, which version people think would be better. Push for the same app that university is pushing for, or push for the app that we heard has superior features like early warning and better detection accuracy.
Does anyone have any comments? I know for me personally, I wasn't like inclined against Novid at all. I just think that when I had met with John Ballard from Ash Center, I think it was last Monday that I met with him. He let me know that they were already in the process of using the app, the other app that they were going to be using, and that if anything, if they were going to use any app, then it would probably be the app that UCSD was using for contact tracing. But he also said that at the next meeting that Novid would be more than welcome to present. And then I found out that they were already going with the other contact tracing app. So I'm not like against Novid, but if the administration kind of already has its mindset on another app, then I think the stance that we have to take is, well, do we want this app instead? And then the other thing would be, well, now we have to convince them why this app is better. So then that means that we better all be behind it, and it would be better if we all like understood why we prefer the app. So that was my thinking. I don't know if anybody else thought about it differently. I'll call on Aiden and then Christina.
Yeah, no, similarly, John, I'm really appreciative that you divided the question and kind of laid out these two different kind of options that we can take as a council. Based on the kind of presentation we got from the app developer 2 weeks ago on Novid, I thought that really answered a great deal of our questions and seemed to be a really valuable app for students. So if the resolution is moving forward with the ask that the app developer made, which was a resolution, encouraging or recommending students voluntarily download Novid, I would be supportive of that. What I kind of still need a bit more information on my own end, and that probably entails me speaking with just the students at San Diego and how they view the app that's being piloted at their school is what I need to do before I can kind of weigh in on or decide how I would like to vote on kind of the other question, which is what our recommendation is for the administration-backed app. So maybe these could be two resolutions. I think they are two separate questions. One is the voluntary recommendation of a supplemental app that students can download of their own volition, being Novid. And then the other question is, UCLA has a pending proposal on, executing a contract for a mandatory app. And then there are questions of, should this app be mandatory? Should it be this app or another app, etc. So if we are going to be weighing in on this question, I would kind of like to see the resolutions divided, and maybe either tonight or next meeting, we can vote on voluntary recommendation for Novid. And then a meeting after that, we can weigh in on the UCLA app. That's kind of how I'm thinking about it, but I defer to your recommendation, Zhang, on what you'd like to see out of this process.
Okay, then. Thank you. That's a valuable perspective. I think someone else.
Yeah, Christina.
I guess I don't know if my opinion aligns very well with other people in council for this, but I talked to Dawn about this, so Dawn, you know what I'm gonna say. But personally, to me, I feel like we don't want to endorse like two separate apps. So like there should just be one that like both us and admin and students are kind of pushing for, because the more people that download one app, the more effective it is, and that doesn't work if it's split across two apps. So then the question is, do we want to have do we want to fall and like endorse what admin's endorsing, or do we want to push admin to endorse Novid instead of what they have? And that basically comes down to like is Novid a better app? And to me, I feel like is Novid a better app isn't necessarily a question of like the student experience as much. Like I think that's what USAC's really good at is like communicating student thoughts and like what they're experiencing to admin. But in terms of like, does having network contact tracing serve a better purpose than not having network contact tracing? It's something that I kind of feel like is not a question for USAC. It's more a question for like health professionals, and then we as USAC should be maybe like taking that advice and then doing whatever we can to take that advice and like apply it to have students download whichever app is like recommended. And then also just to, I think Aiden brought up like wanting to speak to people that have had UCSD. Like I spoke to someone with Novid, and it seems like in terms of like student perception, it might be very similar. I can send the thing that of what they said about Novid. It's just a student at Georgia Tech, so for what it's worth, like I also have one student.
Still useful, I think. Any other thoughts?
Those are both thoughtful perspectives. Oh, someone else?
Comments?
Oh yeah, all I was gonna say is that I think that like with this also like because the university is choosing to move forward with something else, and like Naomi and Aiden have both said like I'm not opposed to Novid. It was a very compelling like presentation and everything. I just think that like because the university is choosing to move forward with something else, like something that we should also be talking about is like privacy for students with whatever they are choosing to implement. And like, I guess we as a council should all like figure out if that is something that we're also going to be moving behind and if these resolutions are gonna address that.
Anyone else? Thank you, Promise, for that. Well, John, what are your thoughts on our comments?
Given that the administration seems very set on using the UC system-wide app, given how much investment they put into it, I understand that it's not currently realistic to persuade them to change to Novid. And given the importance of ensuring that everyone's using the same app so that they're all actually like connected by the contact tracing network, it makes sense to push for people to use the university app, especially because a big portion of what this resolution is for is encouraging the LA county government and city governments to adopt the same app as the one that the university will use. And if that's the UC system-wide app, then it should be the UC system-wide app as such. Right now, I'm leaning towards pushing for the this version, the Novid agnostic version, on ground that it's more important to have something than to have something perfect, especially because I saw the article posted in the, I saw the mention in the group me that LA already has a contact tracing app. It's just that people aren't actually using it because they fear that it'll violate their privacy. And this is exactly the sort of thing that we're trying to address here. So as such, I'm thinking that this resolution will have to be put on the back burner while this one moves forward. And as such, would people be interested in doing some more research over the next week and voting on this resolution at the next meeting? Or do people feel that they are currently well informed enough to give an informed opinion and vote right now?
Well, technically we can't vote right now because there wasn't another sponsor. So we are going to table it to next week.
Oh, it's
but
a given.
Yeah, but it might be useful, John, maybe for you to convene like a meeting outside of this to kind of go over the resolution to make sure that folks feel comfortable in bringing it in. It might, I know sometimes when others form resolutions, they actually do like the writing process with like the other council members, so that way they can feel comfortable signing on. So that might help. What do you think?
Okay, then that sounds good. Does anyone wish to make any suggestions? This version doesn't have to be the final version. I'm open to anyone like adding in anything that they think would help.
We can like have a meeting later as well, but I think taking like what Thomas said about maybe having some language that more specifically addresses the privacy concerns, and because I think that the NOVID presentation that he kind of convinced a lot of us that the privacy concerns were not as bad as like at first thought it is. So maybe if that's like written into the resolution, that kind of language.
I see. That's a valuable insight.
Right. Even working with the professor that presented to us, I don't know how busy he is, but maybe even getting some of his language that he's used might be beneficial. Aiden?
I was also going to recommend, and John, happy to help to hop on a call or do some suggestions offline for the language of the resolution in the interim. But I was going to just suggest from kind of a fairness perspective, as we're evaluating now a secondary vendor besides NOVID for this, it might be helpful to bring in either somebody from ASH or somebody from this app developers team. There were some claims made at the presentation by the professor and by NOVID, really casting doubt on the privacy and effectiveness of UC's in-house or Google or whatever the vendor is app. And it would be good to hear from them how they would counter those claims. So even before I don't think I would be comfortable voting on a resolution until we do get a presentation from UCLA's folks on what this app will actually look like.
Okay, then that's a good suggestion.
Oh, go ahead, Emily. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to echo what Aiden said. I think if either way that we go, you know what I mean, recommending NOVID over this app or recommending that students use this app, we should know what we are recommending to students and why. So that's one point. And then another point is just, yeah, I understand some of the points that you're trying to make in this resolution, but I'm not comfortable signing on to all of the language that is there right now. So if it could be reworked a little bit, that would be great. And if you would allow me to maybe make some suggestions, like using Google Docs, that'd also be great.
Thank you. Let's see. Yes, of course.
Awesome. Okay. Well, given that we aren't going to be voting on this tonight, and I think, John, correct me if I'm wrong, do you have like all of the information that you need for this upcoming week to take it back and workshop it?
Yeah, I'll just need to write them down so I don't forget.
Okay. Well, then I think we can conclude our discussion on this topic. And with that, that means that we are ending this meeting at 9:26 p.m. Yay us.
The recording has stopped.
Okay, good and welfare. Let's get it cracking.